hits Iran's Gandhi Hospital in Tehran.
Firefighters rushed to the site to contain the fire. More details on this later in the news. Good evening, I am Gianna Llanes.
I am Nina Richie Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Now for the headlines. House Speaker Martin Romualdez urges the Senate to do their jobs amid issues on the People's Initiative. The fallen Filipino IDF soldier has been laid to rest in Tel Aviv. The International Court of Justice to rule on South Africa's genocide allegations against Israel. A Mali gold mine shaft collapses, leaving dozens of miners dead. And Novak Djokovic is officially out of the Australian Open after a defeat against 22-year-old Yannick Sinner.
Los Angeles, Las Vegas, Nevada,
España,
Paris, France,
United Kingdom,
Washington, D.C.,
London Bureau, Papua New Guinea, in New York,
Washington, D.C.
Mata ng Agila, Mata ng Agila,
Mata ng
Mata ng Agila International.
Trusted, connected, on point.
House Speaker Martin Romualdez has urged the Senate to do their jobs amid issues on the signature campaign for the People's Initiative to amend the 1987 Constitution.
Tapos na yung trabaho ng House of Representatives. I've reported it to you since September. Advance tayo. Tuwing break at tapos na lahat ng assignments natin. Yung senador hindi pa tapos. Tapusin nyo ng trabaho nyo. Naghihintay na ang mga Pilipino.
Speaker Romualdez disclosed that 4 priority bills were pending in Congress, while in the Senate many proposals are still unsettled. The Senate's failure to act on the proposals has appeared to be a protest regarding the issue on the People's Initiative, which they say is per Speaker Romualdez's order. Previously, Senator Amy Marcos accused the Speaker of offering 20 million pesos to congressmen for a signature collection. Speaker Romualdez, however, strongly denies this and instead urged the Senate to respect parliamentary courtesy.
Wala kayong pakialam sa PI. Yung PI, trabaho na yan ng taong bayan. Yung mga congressman at yung mga senador, trabahuin natin yung legislation. Okay? PI hindi yan legislation. Trabaho yan ng taong bayan. That's the power of the people. So let's focus on our work. Get down to work. Buckle down. There's just 24 of you. Get your act together. Focus. Okay? Focus on your work. All right? And stop hitting on Congress. And maintain parliamentary courtesy.
The 24-member Senate recently released a manifesto condemning the ongoing People's Initiative.
Senate Majority Leader Joel Villanueva has accused the leadership of the House of Representatives of pushing the alleged People's Initiative, which he dubbed as a fake initiative. Senator Villanueva says that his office has received thousands of complaints against the supposed People's Initiative proposing to amend the 1987 Constitution. He avers that he is already creating lists as there are 4 voicemails of congressmen pointing at the leadership of the lower house.
May mga listahan na ho ako, naggagawa na po ako ng listahan. Mayors at even governors, no? Meron na po mga voicemail na pinapadala, boses ng mga kongresista na tinuturo po ang liderato ng Kamara. Pinakapunot dulo nito, itong pagtutulak ng peking inisyatibo na binabastos hindi lang ang Senado, kung hindi ang buong sambayanan.
Senator Villanueva says certain members of the Congress are determined to push through with the People's Initiative for their self-interest, including term extension and elimination of the Senate. Meanwhile, Senator Amy Marcos believes the office of House Speaker Martin Romualdez is behind the funding and planning of the People's Initiative. She says she has received documents as others thought she was still part of the Congress.
Yung opisina niya ang nag-alok ng 20 million kada distrito. Definitely nanggaling sa kanila yung very attenuated timeline na July 9 o July 9 ba yun? Tapos na ang lahat. So definitely that derived from his office with very clear numbers identifying the staff members and attorneys involved.
Senator Marcos says she will disclose the evidence on Tuesday's investigation over the issue of giving payouts in exchange for a signature, supporting the People's Initiative. She adds that the Senate respects the existing interparliamentary courtesy with the Congress. But she says that the Senate is open to Romualdez or to any member of the Congress who want to help with the investigation.
House Speaker Martin Romualdez has revealed that a majority of House members are fully supportive of the Senate's initiative to amend the economic provisions of the 1987 Constitution. This statement was conveyed through a letter addressed to Senate President Juan Miguel Zubiri. House Speaker Romualdez said, and I quote, "As the head of the House of the People, together with the Deputy Speakers, Majority Leader and Minority Leader, reiterates our full support with the Senate in their filing and eventual passage of RBH number 6. The resolution of both houses, or RBH number 6, is a Senate-led discussion on charter change that has been temporarily halted due to the House's persistent efforts to amend the Constitution through a People's Initiative. This letter from Speaker Romualdez to Zubiri was penned shortly after the Senate issued a manifesto signed by all 24 lawmakers rejecting the House-led push for constitutional amendments. Despite this, there is Senate support for amendments specifically focused on economic provisions within the 1987 Constitution.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is gearing up for his state visit to Vietnam between January 29 and 31. The Department of Foreign Affairs said that President Marcos's trip to Vietnam was aimed at bolstering trade, agriculture, and maritime cooperation between Manila and Hanoi. DFA spokesperson Maria Teresita Daza disclosed that Marcos would meet with the Vietnamese Prime Minister to discuss the two nations' relations as well as explore ways to further deepen their cooperation across various fronts. Daza added that Marcos will convene a meeting with Vietnam's business leaders to attract investments. Marcos has also set a meeting with the Filipino community in Hanoi to extend his gratitude for their contributions to the country. Government data shows that there are an estimated 7,000 Filipinos working and residing in Vietnam. Meanwhile, according to the DFA, the Philippines and Vietnam are also working on a maritime deal to boost cooperation between their coast guards.
The Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, has set its sights on a comprehensive rollout of internet voting for overseas Filipinos during the 2025 midterm polls. COMELEC spokesman Rex Laudianco emphasized that the agency will skip the pilot testing phase as internet voting technology is already in use globally. He added that COMELEC aims to introduce online voting in all countries where it is feasible, highlighting that the implementation is contingent on the permissions granted by other countries. In the 2022 elections, the COMELEC reported nearly 1.7 million registered voters for overseas voting. However, the turnout revealed that only about 700,000 individuals actually casted their votes. Laudianco anticipates that the adoption of online voting in the upcoming elections will motivate overseas Filipinos to more actively participate in the electoral process.
The Supreme Court has upheld the validity of the Japan-Philippines Economic Partnership Agreement, or JPEPA, a bilateral free trade deal signed in 2006 and ratified 2 years later during the Arroyo administration. In a 95-page decision dated June 13, 2023, but made public only this week, the Supreme Court dismissed for lack of merit the two petitions that challenged the legality of the agreement. The said petitions questioned the deal on grounds that it violated the Constitution by providing equal treatment to Japanese investors by removing protections for Filipino-owned businesses. Petitioners also argued that the deal would lead to harmful health and environmental effects. In denying the petitions, the court, through Senior Associate Justice Marvic Leonen, said that the JPEPA does not facilitate the indiscriminate importation of hazardous and toxic waste in the Philippines. The High Court noted that the deal acknowledged that the Philippines and Japan were entitled to adopt and implement the necessary health and environmental policies. The Supreme Court also held that while the Philippines committed to grant market access to certain public utility sectors, this remains subject to constitutional limitations on foreign ownership. The said limitations were also stated in the JPEPA. Hence, the Philippines and Japan are mandated to ensure that the constitutional restrictions on foreign equity participation shall always be followed.
Pag-asa has reported that 8 provinces in Luzon are currently facing drought conditions due to the El Nino phenomenon, leading to reduced rainfall and a continued decline in the water level of Angat Dam. The affected provinces include Apayao, Bataan, Cagayan, Cavite, Ilocos Norte, Kalinga, Palawan, and Zambales. Drought conditions are defined by below normal rainfall, constituting a 21 to 60% reduction from the average for 5 consecutive months, or way below normal rainfall for 3 consecutive months. Meanwhile, Angat Dam has experienced a decrease in water level by 0.14 meters, with the possibility of further decline unless the country is impacted by a strong tropical cyclone. Pag-asa is urging government agencies and stakeholders to prepare and implement programs that can assist in the optimal utilization of the remaining water resources.
A big-time oil price hike is seen to take effect next week. The Department of Energy said that gasoline price per liter would go up by 1 peso and 95 centavos to 2 pesos and 10 centavos. Diesel prices per liter are expected to rise by 65 centavos to 85 centavos. Meanwhile, kerosene price per liter could increase by 20 centavos to 30 centavos. Last week, kerosene prices remained stagnant. Oil firms will announce their final price adjustment by Monday. Coming up, a South Korean politician is being treated for blunt force trauma. Donald Trump takes the stand against E. Jean Carroll. And the ICJ is set to give a ruling on South Africa's genocide claims against Israel. Stay tuned, Mata ng Agila International will return for more global news.
This portion.
Until we meet again, Lolo Ever.
Naikwento mo sa akin kung paano kayong nagkita. Kwento mo nga kung anong nangyari pagkatapos nun.
Dideliver ako nun. Tapos nakita ko siya, napupugian niya ata siya sa akin.
Alam mo, lagi ko nakikita yan. Sinusundo si May, sumasakay sa kanya.
Dati pa kasi nung araw laging nakatikit kay May. Rudy.
Ay! Rudy!
Walang makagamit ng TV, walang makagamit ng internet, hindi mahanap yung laptop ni Oli. Ako pinag-aagawan yung para akong artista. Anong hindi?
Artista agad?
Hindi ba?
May di-deliver lang tayo. Pipick upin natin, di-deliver natin. Sino naman to?
Gusto ko ipakilala sa inyo ang isa sa mga importanteng pipirma ng dokumento para ma-process na.
Ako po si Benz Leberica, ang bunso niyong kapatid.
Ha? Nakakape ka naman. Bunso kapatid? Paano nangyari yun? Nakakape ka naman. Nakakape ka naman. Nakakape ka naman.
Let's live together. Sunday 25. Sunday 25.
Welcome back to Mata ng Agila International. Slain Sergeant First Class Cedric Garin, the Filipino member of Israel Defense Forces or IDF, has been laid to rest in Tel Aviv. Garin was among the 21 IDF members who were killed in a blast in Gaza on January 22. Israel said the Hamas group was responsible for the explosion. 23-year-old Garin was born in the Philippines and immigrated to Israel with his mother, Imelda.
A South Korean ruling party lawmaker, Bae Hyun-jin, was assaulted in Seoul's upscale Gangnam district on Thursday. The assailant, a 15-year-old male, struck her on the head with a rock after inquiring about her name. 40-year-old Bae Hyun-jin was quickly transported to Soonchunhwang University Hospital in Seoul. She immediately received medical attention for a head injury sustained at the back of her head.
응급실에 오셨을 때 의식은 명료한 상태였고 통증이 좀 있었고요. 그다음에 이제 두피에서 출혈이 좀 있었습니다. 그리고 또 많이 놀라셨는지 굉장히 좀 불안한 그런 상태였는데 다행히 출혈은 아주 심각하지는 않아서 저희가.
There is limited information available regarding the assailant and the motive behind the attack, only that he is already in police custody. This distressing event occurred about a month after South Korean opposition party leader Lee Jae-myung was stabbed in the neck while addressing reporters in Busan.
Mali's military rulers have officially terminated the 2015 peace deal with separatist rebels following months of escalating conflict in the West African nation.
Le gouvernement de la transition constate l'inapplicabilité absolue de l'accord pour la paix et la réconciliation au Mali, issu du processus d'Alger, signé en 2015, et par conséquent annonce sa fin avec effet immédiat.
Bamako authorities cited the failure of other signatories to uphold their commitments in the Algiers Accord. They also attributed the decision to a growing number of unfriendly acts, instances of hostility, and interference in Mali's internal affairs by Algeria. Algeria had played a significant role in leading efforts to restore peace in Mali, particularly after the signing of the Algiers Accord between Bamako and armed groups primarily composed of the semi-nomadic Tuareg ethnic group. Tensions between Mali and Algeria heightened recently when Mali summoned the Algerian ambassador, accusing the envoy of engaging in talks with Tuareg separatists without involving the military government.
A rematch of U.S. President Joe Biden and his predecessor Donald Trump is becoming more of a possibility this November. Biden, in the meantime, criticizes Trump's economic policies during a visit to Wisconsin State. Rosel Feria has the details.
President Joe Biden visits Superior, Wisconsin to kick off work replacing the Blatnick Bridge that connects the state to Minnesota. In his speech, President Biden says the country's economic growth is stronger than during his predecessor, Donald Trump's administration. He mentions Trump's recent statement about the current U.S. economy.
My predecessor recently said he was actually hoping for the economy to crash, his quote. Hoping for the economy to crash. Can you believe it? Well, he said he's hoping because he hopes it happens soon while I'm still president. That's what he's hoping for. Well, thanks to the American people, America now has the strongest growth, the lowest inflation rate of any major economy in the world.
Biden slumps Trump's economic policies when he was president.
Well, look, my predecessor, though, he chose a different course. Trickle-down economics. Cut taxes for the very wealthy and big corporations, increasing the deficit significantly. That's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. And the fact is, well, I won't get into it, but I don't want to get going. He stripped good-paying jobs and shipped them overseas. Why? Cheaper labor. Rather than pay you a fair wage, ship it overseas. Lower wage costs, and then import the product, denying Americans jobs. He shrank public investment in infrastructure and education.
The president, on the other hand, touts his administration's first-term economic achievements.
14 million new jobs since I became president. 169 new jobs in Wisconsin. 200,000 in Minnesota. Nearly 800,000 new manufacturing jobs nationwide, good-paying jobs. And employment has been the lowest, been below 4% for the longest stretch in 50 years.
Biden and Trump are more than likely to face off again this November after Trump won the New Hampshire GOP primary Tuesday, a closer step to securing the Republican nomination. Rosel Feria for Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Lauding the United States' economic wins under President Joe Biden, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen says the country cannot go back to an earlier era. This as Biden seeks re-election in November. Crisan Fragata has the details.
Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen speaks to reporters just days after the Republican ex-president Donald Trump wins in the New Hampshire primary. Trump's win makes a 2024 rematch with Biden almost certain. As the campaign heats up, the country's top economic officials have been emphasizing the benefits of Biden's agenda. They note investments from the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law and Inflation Reduction Act.
None of these policies are aiming to recreate an earlier era. This country and the world have changed, and we cannot go back. What we need is a new future rooted in upgraded infrastructure and a modern tax system fueled by 21st century industries and with the middle class at its center.
Yellen says Biden is focused on tax fairness and that looking ahead, he would seek to ensure expiring tax cuts for corporations are not extended. Despite Biden's struggle to win over Americans on his handling of the economy, Yellen says authorities have managed to defy recession predictions last year. And that at the same time, she says inflation has come down significantly. With rising wages, low unemployment, and a robust labor market, Yellen argues that middle-class Americans now have more purchasing power.
Overall, the Biden administration has put in place the most extensive set of policies and investments to benefit the middle class and grow the economy that our country has seen in my lifetime. Our aim is to make middle-class lives better for the short haul and for the long haul. We started with infrastructure. Our country's infrastructure has been deteriorating for decades. In the Trump administration, the idea of doing anything to fix it was a punchline. But this administration has delivered.
Crisan Fragata for Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Former United States President Donald Trump took the witness stand in E. Jean Carroll's second defamation trial against him. This was the first time he had provided court testimony relating to Carroll's sexual assault claim against him. Trump's testimony lasted under 5 minutes, with the former president only answering 2 questions. Trump asserted he 100% stood by his deposition statement and answered no when asked if ever instructed anyone to hurt Carroll. He tried to make additional statements, but Judge Lewis Kaplan struck them from the record. Some legal experts said Trump's short testimony was due to 2 reasons. 1, Judge Kaplan limited what Trump could say in court. Secondly, the trial was solely about how much Trump should pay Carroll. Closing arguments for the case are set tomorrow, and the jury will be sent off for deliberations.
Talking about the current situation in Gaza, Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus is moved to tears. This during a World Health Organization Executive Committee meeting in Geneva, Switzerland. Pausing for several seconds while speaking about what's left of Gaza, Dr. Tedros chokes up as he tries to hold back his tears.
Struggling to speak because the situation is beyond words. If we look for a solution, it's always possible. It's only the will that's required.
Israel's permanent representative at the United Nations accuses the World Health Organization of collusion with Hamas. Naya Dames tells us more.
WHO new hostages were held in hospitals and
Israel's representative to the United Nations, Meirav Eilan Shahar, says the World Health Organization chooses to turn a blind eye despite knowing that hostages were held in Gaza hospitals and that terrorists operated within. Shahar alleges that even when presented with concrete evidence of what was happening below ground and above ground about the weapons, the headquarters, the closed rooms, WHO jeopardizes those they are meant to protect.
Every single hospital that IDF searched in Gaza, it found evidence of Hamas military use. Hamas has militarized the entire civilian area of the Gaza Strip as a matter of premeditated strategy. These are undeniable facts that WHO chooses to ignore time and again. This is not incompetence, it is collusion.
The war in Gaza broke out on October 7, 2023. Hamas militants launched unprecedented attacks on Israel. Official Israeli figures report that around 1,140 people died during the attacks. Gaza's Hamas-run health ministry, on the other hand, says that at least 25,700 people have been killed by Israel's military response. Most of the casualties are women and children. Naya Dames from Matanang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
The United Nations International Court of Justice is set to decide on the issuance of emergency measures ordering Israel to halt their operations in Gaza. The session of the ICJ is part of the conclusions of a case brought forward by South Africa alleging that Israel is committing genocide. Both countries testified when the case opened 2 weeks ago, with Israel vehemently denying all allegations. A ruling against Israel would not necessarily be enforceable by the court, but it could have lasting political implications. According to the health ministry in Gaza, more than 25,000 casualties on the Palestinian side include mostly women and children since Israel began their offensive triggered by an attack on Israel by Hamas militants. South Africa asked the court to issue provisional measures such as a halt to military activity by Israel while pleading on accusations of genocide.
The UN says they can't provide humanitarian aid because of the ongoing bombings. So we remain confident that the court has a compelling facts from South Africa and the law is on our side. The jurisprudence of the court has been very clear with regards to there cannot be any justification for genocide.
Israel reacted with outrage to the genocide allegation, accusing South Africa of distorting the truth, saying that Israel had a right to defend itself and was targeting Hamas fighters, not Palestinian civilians.
When a population is ruled by a terrorist organization that cares more about wiping out its neighbor than about protecting its own civilians, there are acute challenges in protecting the civilian population. Those challenges are exacerbated by the dynamic and evolving nature of intense hostilities in an urban area, where the enemy exploits hospitals, shelters, and critical infrastructure.
The ICJ only has the power to issue advisory opinions. While its rulings are in theory legally binding, they are not enforceable by the court. However, the ruling then places additional pressure on Israel to work towards an end to the conflict, or else it stands to face intensifying pressure against the international community behind the scenes.
We have warned that this would be escalating in the region and beyond. And unfortunately, states have chosen to escalate rather than hold Israel accountable and end its atrocity at the Palestinian people.
Johnson & Johnson has tentatively agreed to pay about $700 million to resolve investigations of the marketing of its talc-based baby powder and other products. More than 40 U.S. states allege that Johnson & Johnson misled their consumers by not warning them about possible health risks of its talc-based baby powder. Some legal experts say the settlement would avert potential lawsuits claiming that Johnson & Johnson hid any links between the talc in its powder and various cancers. The company has denied the allegations, saying that their products are safe. But it also made steps to remove its talc-based baby powder from store shelves amid the widespread coverage of the lawsuits.
Microsoft joins Apple as a $3 trillion company. This as its big bet on artificial intelligence continues to impress Wall Street. Irvin Arquiza has more.
Microsoft shares are up 1.31% at $404. It is now second to Apple as the world's biggest company by market capitalization. Apple remains narrowly in first place at $3.02 trillion after reaching the $3 trillion market capitalization mark for the first time in January 2022. Apple, however, has fallen below the milestone. It even briefly lost the pole position as biggest company on the markets when Microsoft overtook the iPhone maker earlier this month. Microsoft, more than any other tech giant, rides the wave of excitement over AI. The Redmond, Washington-based group has a major partnership with OpenAI. OpenAI is the creator of ChatGPT, which is reportedly worth $13 billion. Since the arrival of ChatGPT, Microsoft has launched several products enabling companies and individuals to use the capabilities of generative AI. Among its most notable products is the Bing search engine and Copilot virtual assistant. Since the launch of ChatGPT in early November 2022, Microsoft shares have gained some 67%. Apple, on the other hand, is up by about 40%. Microsoft publishes its results on January 30th. Irvin Arquiza for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
British billionaire Joe Lewis pleaded guilty to insider trading charges and apologized to a judge for his conduct. Lewis admitted passing inside corporate information to his private pilot's girlfriend and other friends, enabling them to reap millions of dollars of profit. Addressing United States District Judge Jessica Clark, Lewis said he knew at the time what he was doing was wrong. District Judge Clark set Lewis's sentencing for March 28. But as part of his plea deal, Lewis has the right to appeal in the event he is sentenced to prison time.
Up next, a huge fire erupts at a hospital in Tehran. The Michigan mass shooter's parents stand trial for involuntary manslaughter charges. And Japan's moon sniper robot is having a lunar pictorial. Mata ng Agila International will be back after a short break.
Walang makagamit ng TV, walang makagamit ng internet, hindi mahanap yung laptop ni Oli. Ako pinag-aagawan yung para akong artista. Anong hindi?
Artista agad?
Hindi ba?
I-deliver lang tayo. Pipick upin natin, i-deliver natin. Sino naman to?
Gusto ko ipakilala sa inyo ang isa sa mga importanteng pipirma ng dokumento para ma-process na.
Ako po si Benz Leberica, ang bunso niyong kapatid.
Ha? Nakakape ka naman. Bunso kapatid? Paano nangyari yun? Nakakape ka naman.
Kita mo ka.
Nakakape ka naman.
Let's step together. Sunnet 25. Sunnet 25.
collapse of a gold mine's shaft in southwest Mali has claimed the lives of at least 70 artisanal gold miners.
Anga mo ngam ba fa ko protection civile mo no e bre ama fu ma ko bre rouge ni fem binata o lebe mo la bo quoi olu re nombre mu yero bulo mo bi wulula o nombre de yero bulo olu de bulo mo bela bo parce que juma do mo chama bora yan olu ma se ka ta quoi sisan o kuma kɛra ni mɔgɔ min bɔra dɔrɔn u b'a ko ta ka taa n'a ye quoi o kɛra juma o y'a sɔrɔ an bɛɛ dusu tiɲɛlen don an ma se ka na an teliya ka na kɛnɛ nin kan joona quoi o de kama samedi an ye noteli k'a noter an y'a daminɛ samedi de quoi o de nombre kɛra 59 ye i m'a ye sinon mɔgɔ in bɛɛ mɔgɔ 70 de ye.
Artisanal mining, a prevalent activity in much of West Africa, has witnessed increased participation in recent years, driven by rising demand for metals and escalating prices. The perilous nature of artisanal mining was evident in this incident, as deadly accidents are unfortunately common due to the use of old-fashioned and unregulated digging methods by these miners. Mali's Ministry Mines spokesperson Abaye Coulibaly cautioned that the death toll was still provisional, as more could be found dead. The ministry is currently mobilizing resources to conduct a mission in the Kangaba area where the tragedy occurred, with the aim of gathering more details on the accident.
projet nanya ko ora ko kata do kaba o ga garaji do ala mo aramade nu be se ga sobe to gamina mo kana se ga barakala no make o ka a barala jo ka fo agc nyene u be olu nu be ga yamora di mo kana wali di ngana barake oro tiene ma oro la o ka ala jo ko no anga la nyini folo folo ko.
Authorities evacuated people at Gandhi Hospital in Iran as fire hit the medical center. Local officials reported no casualties from the incident. Investigators are still tracing the cause of the blaze. Local media said the fire erupted around 7 p.m. at the eastern side of the Gandhi Hospital. Firefighters rushed to the site to contain the fire. In 2017, a blaze at the Plasco shopping center in Tehran claimed at least 22 lives and injured 16 firefighters. And in 2020, at least 19 people were killed by a powerful explosion caused by gas canisters in northern Tehran.
German train drivers began their longest ever strike on Wednesday. Experts warn the 6-day walkout could cost the economy up to €1 billion. Macy Membreri has the report.
German train stations are nearly deserted and there is no traffic on the rails. The strike is disrupting both suburban and long-distance service for commuters. Transport Minister Volker Wissing has slammed the strike as destructive. He says it heaps further pressure on supply chains that are already facing disruption because of attacks by Yemen's Houthi rebels on shipping via the Red Sea. Both freight and passenger service is affected. The union is seeking higher salaries to compensate for inflation. As well, it wants a reduced working week from 38 to 35 hours with no loss in wages. It argues that it needs to make train driver jobs more attractive to young people. The company says it has offered a 13% pay raise and a one-off inflation bonus, as well as a chance to reduce the working week by 1 hour from 2026. Macy Membreri for Matanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Farmers in France are intensifying their protests to pressure the government to address their grievances. They say excessive financial charges, environmental protection rules, as well as insufficient prices for their produce are pushing them to the brink of financial ruin. Christina Cuesta has the details.
Roadblocks have expanded across France as several hundred tractors blocked numerous busy highways. Angry farmers are concerned about their future and whether they will be able to continue making a living off of the land. Here, in the prefecture of Agen, protesters burned tires in front of a government building. They sprayed its facade with liquid manure. Until now, the protests have been largely peaceful, but the demonstrators are starting to get more aggressive. Riot police stood by but did not intervene. So far, protesters and police have not clashed. The president of a French farmers' union met Wednesday with Prime Minister Gabriel Attal in a bid to end the protests. The anger is not confined to France. Farmers in other European countries are expressing similar concerns. Christina Acuesta for Matanang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Each year, more and more people living in southeastern Australia become sick with a flesh-eating bacteria known as Buruli ulcer. Last year, health authorities recorded 363 infections of Buruli ulcer, the highest number since 2004. This week, scientists have confirmed a theory that this flesh-eating bacteria is being spread from infected possums to humans by mosquito bites. The scientists caught and tested 65,000 mosquitoes from Melbourne's Mornington Peninsula between 2019 and 2021. Through genome sequencing, the experts established the genetic makeup of bacteria in two types of mosquitoes was identical to humans who contracted Buruli ulcers in the area. Scientists say they had long suspected the mosquito link, but that it was unusual for a bacterium like Mycobacterium ulcerans to be spread by an insect bite. These bacteria create toxins that destroy skin cells, blood vessels, and fat under the skin. Victoria's health department says that the Buruli ulcer often appears as a spot that looks like a mosquito or spider bite, but grows bigger over days or weeks. From this study, experts believe they can now give the right protection to the people against the Buruli ulcer.
South Korea's food ministry has issued a warning urging people not to eat fried toothpicks. Video clips are circulating online showing people eating the deep-fried toothpicks with seasoning like powdered cheese. The fried toothpicks are made of starch in a shape resembling curly fries, with food coloring also used to impart a green hue to the toothpicks. But authorities said that the safety of fried toothpicks as food has not been verified.
Thai police are set to charge 2 individuals after a pet lion cub was reportedly seen on a joyride in the back of an open-top Bentley. Thai police have arrested Sawangjit Akosong Nergan for possessing a controlled wild animal without permission. As for the penalties, Ms. Sawangjit would spend a year of imprisonment and pay fines of up to 100,000 baht. Authorities said that Ms. Sawangjit bought the animal from a Thai man. Meanwhile, police were also looking to charge the Sri Lankan man with bringing a controlled wild animal into public places, which entails jail time of up to 6 months and a fine of 50,000 baht. In Thailand, it is not illegal to own a lion, but it needs to be officially registered. Data shows that there are only 224 lions in Thailand that are legally owned.
The parents of Ethan Crumbly, the teenager who in 2021 opened fire at his high school, are going on trial for manslaughter in a case that will test the limits of liability for mass shootings.
While the shooter was the one who entered the high school and pulled the trigger, there are other individuals who contributed to the events on November 30th, and it's my intention to hold them accountable as well. It's imperative we prevent this from happening again.
James and Jennifer Crumbly have pleaded not guilty to 4 charges of involuntary manslaughter for their alleged roles in their son's rampage, which left 4 students dead and 7 others wounded. If convicted, they face up to 15 years in prison. Prosecutors allege the gunman's parents are also responsible for the students' deaths for multiple negligences, including disregarding the risks when they bought a gun for their son and failing to identify signs of their son's unstable mental health and signs of violence. They also say the parents did not mention the gun to school officials in a meeting to discuss Ethan's disturbing drawings just hours before the fatal shooting.
At the meeting, James and Jennifer Crumbly were shown the drawing and were advised that they were required to get their son into counseling within 48 hours. Both James and Jennifer Crumbly failed to ask their son if he had his gun with him or where his gun was located, and failed to inspect his backpack for the presence of the gun, which he had with him.
The parents' defense attorneys have argued the charges have no legal justification, but appeals courts have upheld them. The evidence and arguments may also differ for each parent. Jennifer and James Crumbly had been working toward a joint defense, but their cases were separated after Jennifer Crumbly placed blame on her husband in the shooting.
Ethan Crumbly's teacher came upon a note on Ethan's desk, which alarmed her to the point that she took a picture of it on her cell phone. The note contained the following: a drawing of a semi-automatic handgun pointing at the words, quote, "The thoughts won't stop, help me," end quote. In another section of the note was a drawing of a bullet with the following words above that bullet, quote, "Blood everywhere."
Meanwhile, using enrichment of academic experience and avoidance of financial abuse as primary reasons, Canada will be issuing fewer international student permits to post-secondary undergraduate students. Yolanda Aspiras has that story.
The number of study permits for international students coming into Canada will be reduced temporarily, the Canadian federal government announced Monday. Last year, 560,000 student visas were issued in Canada. The new cap on student visas will result in 360,000 study permits to be approved this year, which will see a decrease of 35%. This limit will apply to post-secondary undergraduate students only. It will not include students in master's and doctorate degrees, high school and elementary levels. Current study permit holders will not be affected. So why cap the international student program? According to Immigration Minister Mark Miller, Canada needs to ensure that international students have an enriching academic experience and that they are not abused by a system that takes advantage by charging higher international student tuition fees while providing poor education. Some experts say that this temporary cap might also help with Canada's housing crisis, as there are more people competing for lower-cost rentals and some housing being turned into student rental homes. In 2023, there were about 900,000 foreign students in Canada, a number 3 times higher than a decade ago. In Toronto, Ontario, Yolanda Aspiras for Matanang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
In Nigeria, Lagos State announces a ban on styrofoam and single-use plastics to curb pollution. The state includes the country's sprawling economic capital of more than 20 million people. Elise Daniel has more.
Lagos government says the styrofoam and plastics ban will take effect immediately. Environmental experts, however, are pessimistic. They fear implementing and enforcing it could be complicated. Street vendors and markets in Lagos use styrofoam containers to serve and deliver food or produce. Plastic and other containers litter roads and block drains in the megapolis. Lagos Environment Commissioner says on X, following the menace which single-use plastics, especially non-biodegradable styrofoam, are causing on the environment, the Lagos state government hereby announces a ban on the usage and distribution of styrofoam and other single-use plastics. Some Nigerians welcome the initiative. Others question its implementation. They ask what the alternative is for traders and manufacturers. Climate and Ecological Protection Initiative commends the move if the program was properly implemented. Lagos faces a mix of climate-related problems. Many parts of the state are already densely populated and at risk from flooding. Other African countries, such as Kenya and Uganda, have attempted bans on plastic bags. The United Nations Environment Program, or UNEP, estimates the equivalent of 2,000 garbage trucks of plastics is dumped into the seas, rivers, and lakes every day. UNEP says every year around 19 to 23 million tons of plastic waste leaks into the world's water ecosystems. Elise Daniel for Matanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Colombia appeals for international help as it battles dozens of forest fires burning vast swaths of the country. A plume of smoke blankets the capital, Bogota. Jessica Bautista reports.
Hundreds of Colombian firefighters and volunteers battle flames in the mountains around Bogota for a 4th consecutive day. Schools and a university in the worst affected areas scrap in-person classes. Dozens of flights from the El Dorado International Airport are delayed or canceled due to poor visibility. Although hundreds of blazes have already been extinguished across Colombia in recent weeks, 31 21 fires are still raging in 5 regions of Colombia as of this report. At least 3 of them are around the capital, Bogota. This amid record temperatures and dry conditions linked to the El Niño weather phenomenon. The National Disaster Risk Management Unit reports that more than 6,600 hectares of vegetation have been destroyed so far. Colombian President Gustavo Petro says he ordered the activation of international aid protocols and announces that offers of help have already come from the United States, Chile, Peru, and Canada. A natural disaster has been declared. Jessica Bautista for Matineng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
The Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, or JAXA, has released photos of the moon after it landed the slim spacecraft on the lunar surface. The released image showed the slim spacecraft resting upside down on the moon's surface. JAXA admitted that there was an issue on the landing, but achieved the goal of putting the lander within 100 meters of the target point. JAXA said that the photos were taken by the agency's ball-shaped robot, dubbed Sora-Q, one of 2 tiny rovers aboard the slim spacecraft. With the success of the Moon Sniper mission, Japan became the 5th nation to achieve a soft touchdown on the moon, following India, China, the United States, and the Soviet Union.
Coming right up, King Charles III arrives at a London hospital for treatment. Novak Djokovic's Australian Open bid is snuffed out. And Taylor Swift's stalker is finally brought to justice. Catch more news in sports and entertainment when we return.
Baliw na talaga. Tungkol ba sa mga Korean novela?
Oh no, it's BO. Dito only sa Net 25.
Let's get together. Sa Net 25. Magandang araw.
Gusto niyo bang mahukay ang katotohanan?
Pagpalalampasin ang kapanapanabik ng mga pangyayari sa partidang minahal nyo na. Ang Goodwill!
Season 3.
Tuwing 4 p.m. every Sunday.
Dito lang sa Net
25.
Goodwill Season 3, tuwing 4 p.m. dito sa Net 25.
Let's get together. Sa Net 25. Sa Net 25.
Hello mga ka-Net 25, bon dia! Abangan nyo naman ako dito sa Lutong Dasan. Abangan nyo ang niluto namin ng bagnet with KBL. Meron din tayo sweet and sour fish na sure ako magugustuhan yan. And ito pa, sambal kangkong at grilled chicken pineapple inasal sa Lutong Dasan. Sabado po, 11 a.m. dito lang sa Net 25.
Let's net together. Sa Net 25. Sa Net 25. Magandang araw. Magandang araw.
Welcome sa magandang araw, Aliana.
Ayun, ate, natuloy na rin.
Oo nga. At saka, thank you, ate. Natuloy mo kami dito sa restaurant.
Sabi ko si ate anytime.
Tino, sabi ko, may ipon ako pero hindi ko kaya na maubos agad dito. Tapos inaabutan na ako ng knife set, tsaka ng uniform.
Wow!
Tapos tumingin sa ko, hindi pa. Sabi ko, baka singilin na ako. Sabi ko, hindi pa. Nag-inquire pa lang po ako. Ma'am, enrolled na po kayo. Dr. Hayden ko, and yun nga, Dr. Bella Pagefree.
Wow!
Tapos sabi ko, ha?
Magandang araw. Magandang araw.
Yan! Ito yung mga gusto kong part eh. Yung mga kainan.
Ang sarap. Nakalimutan niya yung question niya sa akin. Nakiread away siya sa food. Ko alam kung paborito ako ng daddy ko kasi may comedy pa din. Kahit nung namatay siya ate. Kaya dali na siya sa morgue. Doon na tumatakbo, Dad! Takbo ko, Daddy! Pag ganun ko ibang tao yun.
Bakit ibang nabuksan mo?
Nauna na pala siya sa Hi everyone, I'm Aliana Asisio at abangan niyo po ako sa Magandang Araw only on Net 35 this Saturday. Ate, paano kung may pamapo? Sumusunod. Makain na si Magandang Araw.
Magandang araw. Magandang araw. Let's net together. Sa Net 25. Sa Net 25.
King Charles has been admitted to a London hospital for a corrective procedure to treat an enlarged prostate. Buckingham Palace said that the king's condition was benign. The royal family did not give further details of how long the king would remain in the hospital, but royal sources also confirmed that King Charles will postpone engagements for a short period while he heals.
Two restaurant chains both claim to have the right to call themselves the home of India's original butter chicken recipe. The family behind Moti Mahal is suing rival chain Dargaganj, accusing it of falsely claiming to have invented the dish, arguing their brand was launched in 2019. They also explained their recipe, an indulgent curry that involves tender pieces of chicken cooked in a tandoor oven mixed into a rich tomato gravy laden with butter and cream, was invented by their grandfather, Kundan Lal Gujral, in the 1930s to use up leftover tandoor chicken. But Dargaganj said they have the right to claim the butter chicken's origins. They explained that their relative, Kundan Lajagi, had worked with Gujral when he moved his restaurant to Delhi in 1947, and it was there that butter chicken was created. This, Dargaganj said, gives them the right to call themselves home to the first serving of the dish, a claim they say they trademarked in 2018. Aside from seeking rights to the title of butter chicken inventor, the Gujral family is seeking $240,000 in damages. The next hearing of the case will be this May. Novak Djokovic lost at the Australian Open for the first time since 2018 as Italian fourth seed Jannik Sinner reaches his first Grand Slam final. Catherine Ortula has the score.
Since the final months of last season, the evolution of Jannik Sinner has been undeniable. On Rod Laver Arena, Sinner answered without hesitation. After showing his quality by dominating the opening sets, the fourth seed demonstrated his toughness by recovering from a missed match point to topple a subpar Djokovic 6-1, 6-2, 6-7, 6-3, and reach a Grand Slam final for the first time in his young career. Sinner was totally dominant through sets 1 and 2, taking advantage of an uncharacteristically erratic showing from the world number 1. With this monumental victory, Sinner ends one of the all-time great streaks at any tournament. He is the first player to defeat Noel, the top seed and defending champion, at Melbourne Park with a streak that lasted an impressive 33 consecutive wins spanning 2,195 days. He admitted that he was second best to Sinner this year. However, his bid for a record-breaking 25th Grand Slam title may be put on pause, possibly until Wimbledon in the summer.
First, I want to congratulate Sinner for playing a great match, a great tournament so far. He's deservedly in the finals. He outplayed me completely today. I was away, but at the same time, credit to him for doing everything better than me, in every aspect of the game.
Catherine Ertula for Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Taylor Swift's alleged stalker David Crow was arrested again just minutes after being released without bail. 33-year-old Crow, a Seattle native, was caught twice in 5 days lurking outside Taylor Swift's apartment. The accused stalker has found himself arrested again on Wednesday when he returned to the superstar's apartment less than an hour after being released by a Manhattan judge. Police sources say that photo and video evidence showed Crow rummaging through a dumpster across the street from Swift's Tribeca home. He now faces numerous charges, including stalking, harassment, and criminal contempt. Prosecutors also revealed during the hearing that Crow had staked out at Swift's apartment 30 times since November 25, 2023. Crow is due back in court on March 12.
The inaugural Net25 OFB Trailblazer Awards marked a resounding success as 41 awardees, including individuals and companies, were honored for their significant contributions to society.
Hosted by Net25 President and Open for Business host Cesar Vallejos, the event took place at the EVM Convention Center on January 25th. The awards covered 9 categories, recognizing outstanding achievements in areas such as green policy, innovation, community impact, Small Business of the Year, Franchise Company of the Year, and Business Company of the Year, among others. Among the public figures honored were DSWD Secretary Rex Gatchalian for the Community Impact Award and COMELEC Chairman George Garcia for the Exemplary Values and Management Award. San Miguel Corporation, led by Mr. Ramon Ang, was recognized as Business of the Year. In the Innovation Award category, Ferdinand Vincent Co. of Pure Gold, Antoinette Lee of Great Wall Motors were acknowledged. Mariel Padilla received the E-Commerce Excellence Award and was accompanied by Unlad Kaagapay sa Kabuhayan host and Senator Robin Padilla. Net25 President Cesar Vallejos extended his gratitude to the companies that continue to support the network and share their knowledge through the Open for Business program. The Net25 talents serving as presenters included Senator Padilla, Ms. Corina Sanchez, Ali Soto, Pat Pidaza, Aramina, David Chua, Lava Nuver, Regine Angeles, and Cata Girls Pia Guanyo Mago, Emma Tiglao, and Diana Meneses, as well as news anchors Alex Santos, Ricky Matay, Nina Alagao Flores, and Wedge Kudyaman.
Maraming salamat po sa Net25. You've been very supportive of all the efforts to promote not only our brand and our cars, but also the lifestyle that we embrace. So,
alam mo, mas lalo akong na-inspire to continue live selling at to give more parang fun sa pagbi-business.
Lalo po naming pagbubutihin pa ang Open for Business, lalo na po dahil ito ay sinusuportahan na po ng maraming mga negosyante. Marami po ngayon ang present sa kanila. Nagulat din po kami at ikinatuwa namin na dati po ay nahirapan po kaming mag-imbita ng mga negosyante, ng mga bisita. Pero ngayon po ay talagang sila po ang tuwirang tumatawag na po sa atin para matulungan sila na ma-promote po ang kanilang mga negosyo sa Open for Business. At
Ms. Wilma Galvante, the network consultant for entertainment, also attended. This event also showcased the talents of Star Kada, the burgeoning homegrown talent of the network under the guidance of director Eric Quizon.
That was the first one, right? And it's quite a success, would you say so?
Yes, so we can anticipate more OFP awards.
That's right. And to end the week, here's a quote from the real Slim Shady himself, Marshal Bruce Mathers. The truth is, you don't know what is going to happen tomorrow. Life is a crazy ride and nothing is guaranteed.
Well, there is something guaranteed tomorrow. It is the weekend.
It is
Happy
the weekend.
to all of you.
That's right, and that's for sure. And for those of you who are still on the road, tune in to Agila FM 95.5.
And of course, you can catch the latest updates as well on our social media channels. I am Gianna Llanes.
I'm Nina Richie Alago Flores. This is Matarang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point. Thank you for choosing Matarang Agila International as your trusted news source, keeping you connected to the world and on point with stories from around the globe. Follow, like, and subscribe to @Net25 TV.